All right, let's have some fun. The Cumberland Phoenix and the Marshall Thundering Herd, the first match that we have today. But this is, of course, the regional playoffs for the Collegiate Call of Duty 2026 season. We are 1 week away from the regional playoffs kicking off, Brody. And you know what that means. That means every team inside of the CCL will be vying not only for, again, regional supremacy, but, of course, those coveted playoff spots for the CCL playoffs coming up in just a short bit.
Oh, mate, I'm so excited. You know, they told me tonight that CCL needed a British caster with a terrible hairline, and so I was on call. I was ready to go. I'm absolutely very excited to get into tonight's action, mate. It's going to be a great game.
It will be. We got a couple matches here for the night. We got, of course, Cumberland Phoenix versus the Marshall Thundering Herd. This is for the Southeast Appalachian Conference Championships. The second match of the night will be Mars Hill versus Newberry for the Southeastern Deep South. I was reading the graphic wrong over here, so that will be a fun one, no doubt in my mind. But we'll take you through the look at what is ahead for the CCL playoffs, the regional playoffs coming up first, and then, of course, that road to land.
Back into college Call of Duty,
be nice. Well, thank you, Colorblind, for the little intro there into the land. Yeah, so like I said beforehand, conference championships continuing. This is the final week of the conference championships, which will conclude our technical regular season. Step 2, April 10th, the regional playoffs, and then a week later we'll start the CCL playoffs on the 17th of April, and then of course the final stop, the CCL LAN. And Brody, of course, I can't leak the date, I can't leak the location, I can't leak anything there. What I can say about it, though, is we will have the best teams on LAN playing for, yet again, a CCL championship.
Brother, what if I give you like 5 Freddos? Could you just tell me then?
I can tell you, probably. I don't know if John will get upset if I told you, but I can't tell anybody else.
Have I highballed myself here? Could I got it on like 3 Freddos?
Well, I'm gonna let you highball that. I'm gonna take 5.
I just want to know, Matt. It's a really exciting format we've got here. Obviously, you know, I absolutely love CCL, and the new format we've had this season, I think, really made things so much more interesting. And obviously, we have the return of LAN there at stop 4 as well. So I think just really cool to see kind of how things are going to play out now as we kind of whittle down our teams, right? I mean, we've obviously had everyone competing. The competition is going to get a lot more difficult here as we move forward in towards those regional playoffs.
Yeah, it absolutely will. So head-to-head for the two teams vying for regional dominance and supremacy within their specific conference. The Cumberland Phoenix coming into this with a perfect slate across the board, 11-0 throughout the regular season, 9-0 in each of the respective maps and modes broke apart. But the one thing is they have yet to be able to climb, at least in the eyes of our top 25 committee, past the 5th rank. They are looking not only to win their division throughout the regionals, but of course, make it through the CCL playoffs and finally fight, maybe even in a grand final, for a top 3 finish at a LAN, which this team in this kind of club has not done so far throughout the CCL history. It's something that they're looking forward to. And I'm hoping that maybe this is the year they get to do it.
Yeah, I mean, Cumberland Phoenix, obviously last year they finished top 6 in the Southeastern playoffs. Obviously things are very different this time around. We've split the Southeastern division to 2 separate subdivisions, if you will. So, you know, Cumberland Phoenix have got a lot less competition this time around within their own subdivision. So maybe things again will get more difficult as they do get into the regional playoffs. But yeah, this is the best Cumberland have looked. Obviously they've changed their roster as well. And so I think, you know, it's kind of this perfect storm of Cumberland Phoenix, obviously a lot less competition, a lot better roster than last season, and you get this result, which is a flawless map mode record across the board, which is incredibly difficult to do, by the way. I play a bit of the game myself, and I've lost myself a hard point every so often, so yeah, really difficult. On the other side, though, it is worth saying, Marshall also no slouches. They probably could get that S&D up a little bit. 6-4 is not the best record on the whole, but hard point and overlaid, hey, that ain't bad.
It's also funny that you mentioned the 6-4 record, because the last time these two teams played within the regular season, it was a 6-4 Scar Search and Destroy that went the way of Cumberland Phoenix. So not only have the Marshall Thundering Herd lost once this season, the opponent that they lost to is sitting directly across from them in this best-of-7 series. Of course, if you are just joining us here for the conference championships, all of our conference championship games are a best-of-7, so you will see at least 4 guaranteed maps throughout this tonight, which leads us to, of course, our best-of-7 series, which we will see these two teams duel it out. Of course, we've got a Den Hardpoint, a Colossus Search and Destroy, a Den Overload, and a Blackheart Hardpoint that rounds us for our 4 guaranteed maps. Den and a double Scar at the end will go if, of course, we need those. But looking at across the bans that we have for both of these rosters here, I don't think it's really any surprise that we've seen Colossus and Raid being banned out from Marshall, 2 of those maps that really they have not found a lot of success on this year.
Yeah, I mean, it just kind of makes sense, right? You always play your strengths and your weaknesses. I think that's always a conversation point. It's very interesting, I think, and for CCL teams, I think it's particularly interesting where you talk about some of the best teams in any given game, and any given esport, and I think Call of Duty this is particularly true for. Some of the best teams always veto against their opposition as opposed to for themselves, if you know what I mean, right? I mean, you're having as wide of a map pool as possible. It stops you from having to veto maps that maybe you're not necessarily comfortable with, and I think, we look at kind of vetoes for the likes of the Cumberland Phoenix, and that's kind of something where it's just like, well, hey, you're not bad at anything, right? You've not lost a single map, and so you can kind of play for yourselves a little bit more than maybe Marshall Thundering Herd can, where in their circumstances they kind of do have to maybe veto some maps they're not comfortable with. I will say though, I mean, we got a best of 7 here. I didn't know. I mean, mate, I'm a beast basically as I am. I didn't think I'd need to eat any more. We're eating good. In this matchup, we got best of 7. I cannot wait to see how this one plays out, and I hope for the love of God that it goes past 4 maps. Obviously, it was a 3-0 last time, but I think we're going to see more competitiveness, and I think there is a chance at least the Marshall Thundering Herd can push it across the line in those search and destroys.
Yeah, I mean, speaking of the map 1 where we'll kick things off here on the Den Hardpoint, let's talk recency between these two teams. This map in mode combination was played in the last best of 5 series within the regular season between Marshall and Cumberland. Scoreline for the Phoenix, they were able to take it 250 to 72. It was a map that they flourished through, and Marshall never found a rhythm and a rhyme to it. And this was a match that did take place later on in the season. This wasn't something that was, kind of the early stages of the regular season of CCL. This was something that was, again, very recent within the last month and a half. So these are things that you have to look to when you look for the side of Marshall. What can you learn from that previous series? What are things that you were able to take away that were habits that need to change? How do we see the different things on the mini map, or maybe communicate that a bit more effectively between the team? And how do we shoot back against the Cumberland Phoenix? Well, we're going to find out here exactly what's going to happen for the Marshall Thundering Herd if they can rally back against Cumberland. At least the opening break-off for the Cumberland Phoenix. They've got themselves in P1 time. It's an onslaught and a spawn flip that's an opportunity trying now. The Thundering Herd will just basically fall over.
Yeah, good effort here from player 196. Goodness gracious. It's honor that is that player. He does try to make a spawn flip happen there by that long flank through the overload point, and unfortunately, I think he goes far back enough to actually flip out the spawn. So Marshall Thundering Herd will clip those back spawns here for the moment, and Cumberland Phoenix will have to try and make a rope through or brute force their way through the front. With those 3 kills, Korn, it looks like they should be able to do that, and that's exactly what happens.
Yeah, Sorrow up and through the top side of Broken has a good gunfight against Orbitals, and so this is really going to start to clear out that back line to where they can push into P2 at the front. Paralysis, Big Nico looking for the first gunfight there. Won't be able to find it, and Quan will fall into quick succession as well. Zaxton was able to find a triple though on the back end. They got the close spawn still though for Cumberland, and unfortunately Horror was still in the corner as well. So really, as the front happened, it looked like a break might happen off the back end of action, but realistically it's just all Cumberland still. Yeah,
and Marshall not having the greatest of starts here, not just in terms of the overall scoreboard, but also in the KDs. Paralysis and Quan in the first couple of hills dropping a double donut, and Sorrow is currently spinning 360s on Marshall Thundering Herd. He's dipping and diving using the wall jumper features we've got here in Black Ops 7 to get all kinds of wacky and wonderful gunfights in his favor. And you just get to the last 25 seconds of the hard point, it's just like Marshall Thundering Herd probably shrugging their shoulders a little bit here and going, well, what the hell, let's just go to the next hard point, because at this point things can't get much worse. As I say that, McCormill, a couple of players spawn in the back, so apparently it can get worse.
Flamadel 5 in a row, looking for 6 through computers. That's a tough gunfight, but he had a teammate there for help, and now you can see the double back through Dojo. This is going to clear out those spawns, and this is what they want over on P3. Really, this is the first time to get some initial pointage here for Marshall, and of course, they're still looking for their first points of the game. So up to 7 now with a Hellstorm in the back pocket. Marshall will finally touch from the opposite side. A 10 through tower, the small. It's going to be a 4-on-3.
This is the big opportunity here. Cal still in the tree, by the way. Already got the Hellstorm missile. You can't actually technically use anything past it, I'm pretty sure. The rest we'll find out. Cal finally goes down, and now it's going to be Cumberland Phoenix in control. The big issue here for the Marshall Thundering Herd, they got to try and fight through this archway, and it's so difficult when you got 3 or 4 different subs and ARs fighting down at you, basically staring at that point of view, and that's going to cause this situation here for Marshall Thundering Herd. With 25 seconds left on the clock again, it's basically like, well, we can maybe send a couple of bodies at the old hard point, but more than anything here, we're kind of going for a split push in towards the next hill, and it's working out so far. This is a big 1v1 around the back line, and now you've got help from Orbitals.
Yeah, it was kind of funny when you said this could be a problem for Marshall here. I didn't think you were going to go the way of where they were pushing. I was going to say Quan at 0-9 kind of needs to get something going. He at least got 2 for his money. Problem is, again, though, they do not have the rotations. It's only going to be 1 player here, though. Sorrow 5 in a row makes it 6 with a pistol. Doesn't get anything but help from his teammate inside of computers. Now we can wrap back over to the right side of P4. Great jump challenge out onto orbitals. And there is nothing that the Cumberland Phoenix can do wrong at the moment.
This guy's got all the hallmarks of an iridescent player. Trust me, I've seen one too many. Never mind, actually, I don't see any of those in ranked play because I'm not that ranked. But
We know.
Cumberland Phoenix in control at the moment, in a pretty good position, and just the way in which Cal and Cyro are running through Marshall Thundering Herd. That's not even talking about what Draken and Honor have done for this roster as well. I mean, they're kind of almost unsung heroes in a way because they're doing a fair bit in terms of spawn control, in terms of hardpoint control. But make no mistake, it is Cal and Cyro that are doing the God's work at the moment, slaying through Marshall Thundering Herd. And this is something almost unheard of with Cumberland Phoenix. About 150 points to the goods as we get into the second set here, McCormill. This is nasty.
All right, well, the Cumberland Phoenix continue to flow around the map, and let's see how those comms are sounding right now. I can't imagine they're too serious. Let's take a listen with the Cumberland Phoenix.
Yeah, Moss. One shot, Moss.
We'll do. Couches and Moss.
He's not top below me. I'm holding my blue tails. I'm waiting for you guys.
Yeah, do we have a
Don't
streak?
work on me. I do.
And the pinch dead.
Mid dead.
I see that. Orbital's on Moss, guys.
I know.
Go,
He's
go,
hopping
go,
on me.
go,
Dead,
go,
dead.
Nice.
That's on right side time. Laying down
I'm
outside
touching
you.
you guys.
One shot.
Broken probably. Looking for
Yes,
Nico.
no, I'm
Broken.
This one blue.
Should be couches, should be
I'm
couches.
splitting. They're B cut,
Yes,
guys.
this me, yeah.
They're B cut.
I'm not pick. I hear you.
I have nothing else to.
You got then.
Nice. I'll send couches.
Dude.
Push that out, Draken.
One
Push
shot
that
back
out.
couches, bro. One shot back couches.
I'm gonna give up Dodo.
Action is back couches.
I B cut. Can you go my broken?
I spawn P2. Give me a second.
He was not broken, I think. Yeah, I'll get him. He's dead.
I got
I'll
time.
see y'all.
My B cut.
But
My B cut.
couches,
My B cut.
couches.
Absolute Nico. One B.
He's not peeking it. I'm helping you, Couches, bro.
He's gonna run through broken on you. Probably, Yusuf. Watch
He's
your
left side
right.
couches,
Watch your
left
right,
side.
Yusuf.
Yeah, we'll do it,
I got
we'll do
it. You're good. Help time.
Bet.
Couches laying down right side of it. Outside of
He's weak,
couches right
he's
now.
absolutely-
Only pitches.
He's
Stay alive.
dead.
You're good. Nice.
One more Couches dead.
I spawned here.
I have for you.
Yeah, play this game.
I have the back, guys.
Oh, Brody, I'm going to be completely honest with you. Comms sound phenomenal from Cumberland. There's really not any critiques that I would have, and I mean, where would they be? 185 to 27. We are in an any percent speedrun territory right now for map 1.
I mean, I certainly hope you will criticize them, mate, because I don't think you're this good at the game. Cumberland Phoenix right now, 140 to the good, and again, it continues to rise. Finally, some kind of light at the end of the tunnel here. Kwan's able to get a double in towards the next hardpoint, making a triple. Cyro's not looking towards that part point, and he has the help from his teammate as well. So all of a sudden here, Marshall Thundering Herd in a great position. Kwan on a spree. Where was this Venom for the first, 90% of this game? Finally, some trades coming back, though, here from Cumberland Phoenix and Marshall Thundering Herd. They are keeping their handle on this tilt by their fingertips. I swear to God, Marshall Thundering Herd have come out of nowhere right now with this ability to play the game. This is insane.
Yeah, you would have loved that in the first 2 rotations, two and a half, almost 3 full rotations that we've been through so far. But hey, better late than never, I guess, is the saying that most people will have in situations like this. Over on P3, though, Cumberland are the first team out to rotate, and you basically got a 50 bomb between Cal and Ciaro, and that is going to really help out any day of the week. We saw Shotzi play this corner a bit ago when we were playing Overload. That was a wonderful spot that he was able to utilize to perfection. What was it, the winners finals of that tournament? Yeah, that was some great stuff over the CDL, of course, this weekend. But yeah, 206 right now to 62. It's not coming back any sooner.
Yeah, it just doesn't get any easier, does it? And I think the thing we've also got to remember here is that Marshall Thundering Herd still have at least one Hellstorm missile in the back pocket. So if things do go massively awry for them in this game, I highly doubt will happen here. There is still streaks ready to go as well. But once again, it is going to be Cumberland Phoenix with the break. And now with 20 seconds left, Marshall Thundering Herd are kind of left scrambling for the rotation. They could still win the battle, and Action will at least win the first. So as long as they stack the hard point here, they should be good.
You know, the SMGs inside of the computers will fall to the hands of Orbitals here. Nico Paralysis trying to push his way out middle map, trying to salvage what has been a lackluster game for Marshall, and for himself included. Sure, this wasn't the performance he wanted. Good news now, passing that 74-point mark. Marshall have put more points on the board than they did the last time against Cumberland Phoenix on this map and mode combination, but it is a 4 spree that's going to allow them to basically put 4 dead. So honestly, this is all in the efforts of not getting 100-point clubbed here. It's still the winner's advantage and the leader's advantage for Cumberland right now, only needing 21 to the good in order to take map 1.
That's all they need, one good break. And I have a feeling they might not even be that patient with it. You can almost immediately see them investing towards this hard point. There goes the Hellstorm missile, followed by Honor. Jesus coming in for the kill. Cyro for another one as well. And, well, now they have control. They can definitely call game here.
Yep. Right side challenge. Snap was good, but Orbitals wins it and at least allow them to stay alive a little longer. Hellstorm over the top will take down not only an opponent, but a teammate in the process. As you look to Quan, good snap to the bottom side of it. Still 10 negative. The rotation back over to P1, which is 10 seconds here, should net them all the time that they possibly need. Here it comes. P3 cut. Orbitals will fall. Honor will be able to find paralysis. Action in the back line, trying to go ahead and cut these forces down, but realistically, nobody's going to be able to get back over to P1 to touch. And in the smoke show of a map 1 hardpoint, scoreline looked a little salvageable, but regardless, we know the storyline. Phoenix, disgusting map 1.
I'm fairly certain that you need an ID check for that here in the UK now.
What's that?
Whatever that was, that smackadoodle-and-do, I don't know, whatever. We'll keep it PG here for the broadcast, but you folks from the UK, you know what I mean. I don't know that many people from the UK watching right now, but if you're from the UK, you know what I mean. Cumberland Phoenix, 1-0 up now against the Marshall and Farnock area, and you can see, I mean, look at that, man. At one point, that was 183 to 27. That was at the end of P1. From the second set, and then we get into P2, and all of a sudden Marshall Thundering Herd kind of wake up a little bit. They have kind of a resurgence, which is so weird. It came genuinely out of nowhere. I think it was like a 3K out of Quan. Action got a couple of kills. Yeah, they were just, it was like a bouncy castle in there. They were bouncing around. Cumberland Phoenix, they've got the movement down out of absolutely nowhere. Honestly, it was like Jesus possessed them. Either way, it didn't help them in the grand scheme of things, because Cumberland Phoenix, they had those double Hellstorm missiles. So even if Marshall tried to get back into the game, that won't happen.
Nah, it was not. You can see the gap between the two teams, of course, as Brody alluded to beforehand, wider than the secondary of the Dolphins against the Chiefs in the 2023 NFL playoffs that we played in negative 30-degree weather. Just thought I'd throw that in there for a bit of fun. But overall, it has been fun. We'll look at the stats real quick to see what the Cumberland Phoenix did in the dirty math to the Marshall Thundering Herd. And as you see there, Cal and Ciaro together put a little bit of proverbial belt to ash inside of map 1. Orbitals on the other end with action. They tried to keep it as close as they did for the longest time. Paralysis and Quan really had slow starts, but nobody on Marshall was able to salvage anything really useful out of that map 1. So although it has been pretty much all negative for Marshall so far, they look to a search and destroy, but they have been better, at least statistically, on the year against Cumberland in their last best of 5 and against some of the other teams that they played with in their region. We just gotta hope and pray they start shooting back. Yeah.
Because that, what was it, combined 0-20 start, I think, more or less. I mean, I might be exaggerating it, but I think that was more or less what we got there for Paralysis and Quan. That cannot happen. Like, just straight up. Starting a game without getting a kill for the first 2 hard points is never okay. I've had some stinkers in my time, right? Yeah, there have been some bad ones. I've been dropping 0 bombs, as I like to call them. These guys, that was not a good start for them whatsoever. So, yeah, bro, I love that, dude. I actually love that so much. Yeah, they just can't do that again. But it is going to be S&D next, and I think this is what we talked about previously, right? We talked about kind of them being a potential redemption situation here. It's kind of funny in a way, right? Because we talked about S&D as the biggest issue for them. From like a pure map mode perspective, S&D is a problem for them. Because obviously, it's the 6-4 compared to, what was it, like a 10-1, 9-1, something to that effect in Hardpoint and Overload, respectively. And yeah, we get into the Search and Destroy that they played versus Cumberland Phoenix in the regular season, and it was a 6-4 win for Cumberland Phoenix off the dome. That, I think, is a good indicator that there's an opportunity to get into the series here. But it's going to be difficult. Like, it almost feels like you kind of have to win the Search and Destroys and steal a respawn in this series. Like, that's the way in if you're a Marshall Thundering Herd. But, I mean, just looking at that Den Hardpoint, I don't know about that one, Chief.
Yeah, I guess we're hoping that Marshall for this Colossus S&D is going to be a little bit more their speed. Let's talk pace from what we saw in Cumberland in map 1, though. I think it goes back to the comms that we really didn't hit on too much just because there really wasn't much to talk about overall, but everything just seemed to be watched at all times. There was never a moment where Phoenix were running without a tandem there. There was always a duo of players making the move. I think one of the plays that I saw is actually the first rotation when we were rotating over to P3. And it was, I believe it was Cal and Ciaro who both had pushed it out. It was just inside of computers. It was a double chow immediately that got them to push to back dojo, got the spawns in. And that was, yes, where Marshall was able to get their first bit of hill time, but it was the fact that they were able to move throughout the map, get the presence that they wanted to, and get the power positions in their possession, and then say, hey, look, we can just take the hill whenever we want to. We're going to break this to the front and win the gunfights. So when you're being able to kind of just pressure the map, have your presence be felt in every situation, and especially when the communications on the content sound like, hey, I've got this held, no, you're good, I've got this. There's not a second guessing. There's no people not being able to pick up a lane. Everything is being watched, and the small talk is perfect.
We need something, man. We need something out of Marshall Thundering Herd. I don't know what it is. They're going to steal a strap book or something from a CDL team. I don't know, brother. They just need something crazy right now. We will see whether or not they get it, though, as we jump into this one. And Marshall Thundering Herd, I need to see something special coming out of there. I'm curious as to who's running the sniper for them. I know that Cal is the sniper, generally speaking, for Cumberland Phoenix. And a bit of a weird position for it if he's currently running it. Of course, we can kind of barely see it through the X-ray. There it is. There is Cal with a sniper rifle. He is anticipating a push through B.
Oh, no trophies in the first round. Orbitals will get picked off for it. So for Cumberland, really, it's just all about that set nade at the beginning being able to take one out. Now you look at the full spread here on the defensive end. Nobody getting too aggressive. You can see Calamity, and he wants to be able to pop one for it. Good shot there. He's going to at least push Paralysis back a bit. Make him aware that the sniper is out here. Quan going to be on the heady. Could he be the first victim? Calamity saw the shoulder, wanted to pick a pop shot at him. And as he slides out, hey, we might want to be able to hit these snipes. Doesn't really matter too much. Goes 0 for 4 on the shots at the beginning with the pistol. How about one for it? And everybody dead on the side of Marshall. So they tried to chow out the lane with the sniper. If you're going to do that, you might just want to push it a little bit faster. You were afforded so much positioning with those first 4 shots being missed.
Yeah, I mean, I'll say this much, right? It didn't really matter too much whether the shots went through. And I think that the kind of play call was, like, if we hit these shots, great, I'll get these gunfights. But if not, Honor is watching across the way. And that's exactly what happened, right? They went for a 1-for-1 trade. By that point, you had teammates coming through as well from Cal and Ciaro. So, you know, it isn't the worst thing in the world to be losing those shots. I'm making excuses for terrible sniper shots right now. But ultimately, you know, look, if the backup plan is in place, it don't really matter that much. We are switching sides for a really long time right now. Okay, I was going to say, dude, I'll be honest, I thought my VMix froze for a second. I was just like, this is just British internet things. I can't do anything right now. Absolute cinema. I'm just trying to meme right now. But yeah, off the start of round number 1, you talked about it, right? You talked about those set nades coming through to kick things off. No trophy systems in round number 1, so you really do have to be a little bit more wary about those nades coming through. And, of course, I will say it's a bit of an unconventional position for a sniper rifle to be in, to the road to that right side of B, just generally speaking because of the fact that teams don't generally push B. Like, I'd love to see the stats of it, of, like, how many A pushes versus B pushes you get. I would wager it's probably lower than 10% of pushes on Colossus Search and Destroy are on the B bomb site, so that's why the sniper position over by that bomb site is particularly weird. But either way, it's something that they might not have expected, so I kind of have to give them a little bit of credit. What I won't give them credit for, though, is off the back of the sniper rifle being acknowledged, they like double push the sniper rifle. Like,
well, I think
really a good idea.
I think in the grand scheme of things, I think the setup in mind for Phoenix was, okay, we trust our subs enough after map 1 to be able to kind of just hold a lane by themselves. We'll put an AR top middle, watch over P1, and that can just kind of be your setup, especially with no trophies in that first round, being able to land those nades and just play on that backside heady of P2. You're not giving anything away. You're not pushing the map too far, and you're kind of just like basically asking Marshall to chow your lane when they want to hit A. If they want to hit A, if you just trust Calamity to be able to go out there, just hold down the lane with a sniper rifle out. I mean, even if he doesn't hit the shots, you kind of alluded to it already, and this is kind of part of the point you were making. Like, that lane is basically locked down now, because if you're not going to push that, you have the information that one's there. You get that second spot out on Quan as he was hitting that while you were there with Paralysis. All of a sudden, you got 2 players there. You let Honor rotate over. All right, free chows all day of the week. If the sniper's not hitting, you got the player on the back heady with the AR, and then you can just rotate those 2 players over from A inside of green. So I don't necessarily hate it over there. Yes, it's a bit unconventional, but all things considered, I really do think that it ended up being something that was net positive.
All right. 2-0 now for Cumberland Phoenix. Action. Down already here in this round. So we go to a 2 versus 2. Defense of this bomb site is pretty possible. Quan just has to keep an eye on this angle.
Oh, contention on the first one. That's a hard double to have to take on. Paralysis will back on with 54 HP. Was able to get the first. 20 seconds left. Do you just hop the bomb or do you go for it? Looks like Draken's just going to lay down on this. This is probably the best move he's going to be able to make. About halfway through the defuse. Paralysis around the corner. Shaky shots at first. And a little suey off the map after it. Why not? Not going to be playing for streaks, but you get the round win. You'll take that every day of the week. If he misses like 2 of those shots, though, and he fell off the map there, that might have been the one of the biggest, just like, all right, what are we doing in the kitchen here?
Is a Benny Hill music DMCA'd? Would that get
so.
the channel DMCA? Oh, man.
I
that
think
would be
so.
perfect. So we should have that. I was going to say, because we should have that on call just for situations like that. But yeah, I mean, really good play. Really good play on the whole there from Paralysis, just to make the wraparound. Obviously, that's the best thing you could do. I mean, equally, it's also a great call to just jump on the defuse, right? Because no one's going to really check that. I think if he would have done it just a tad earlier, maybe got a bit better on the quickness, then that would have been fine. But nope, no cigar. That's a good round for Marshall Thundering Herd here.
Stun check around the right's not going to find anything. Statue from Sharo. You look to where the spread is right now on the setup from the defense. So you got one laying down behind Stone. You got one back P2, and Paralysis is just knocked off the board by another great nade from Cumberland here. So no 4 versus 3 with a man advantage. You got 30 seconds knocked off the board. Honor's going to be able to push in through middle map, and now you have to look to Action, who's challenging the heady. You got 2 players here, and they are just knocked off in a corner. Orbital's there for 1. Trade immediate. Now it's Action with 26 HP. Good luck on this, bud.
Yeah. He is dead. He is very dead. 1v3. Go Action. Live up to your name. Action. No, never mind. For like, you know, clapping the board or whatever at the start of a movie, filming and just shouting Action and expecting something interesting to happen, it just doesn't. Yeah, that's a 1v3. It's really unfortunate for Action towards the back of the map. There's nothing you can really do there in the situation. It's kind of a methodical removal of all the players. Maybe if his teammate who was sat in the corner would have managed to get more than one, then that would have been interesting. I think it was Orbitals that was sat in the corner. Maybe if he would have been able to choose more than one gunfight, it would have been somewhat interesting. But no, just not able to do anything there in that situation. Cumberland Phoenix, once again, I mean, early utility, I think, is something that they've been really good with early on in these rounds, especially on the offense. It's just unsettling Martial Thundering Herd. I'm surprised they haven't found an answer to it just yet, because they are 3-1 down. They have to figure that out pretty quickly.
And they're getting really good reads with those stuns, too. Off the rip, though, it's Action and Quan who'd pop a double. Sorrow will be able to tag along with his teammate for a 2-2 trade. 1 versus 2 down towards the end, and now it's Quan. Redemption here from the hard point opportunity. Draken around the corner, though, will slide challenge directly through with the ADS already stuck directly to the chest of the unfortunate Quan on the opposite end. So another 2 rounds go the way of the Cumberland Phoenix, as Marshall's still struggling to ring a few together on the answering end.
And that is just one of those rounds where a team feels confident in themselves, their ability to win these gunfights and win the trades, and that is exactly what happens. You put Draken in a 1 versus 2 like that, or 1 versus 1, excuse me, he is going to win that all day long. And that's, I think, an issue for Martial Thundering Herd. Again, you know, you put them in a head-to-head situation where it's all even Stevens here, no advantage for either side, and ultimately, I think it's not really that unfair to say that Cumberland Phoenix are more likely than not to win those engagements. So I think we're going to see the same thing again here. They've figured out they can just full kit something and hope for the best.
Straight bang out. Draken can get backed off of the Semtex. They didn't get any information from it, but Quan's able to find Sorrow after the immediate first blood. So you put yourselves in an even Stevens round count. 3 versus 3 here. Action on the back end, going to get knocked off the board, or at least you thought he would. Instead, he gets Kalau for his money. Draken will fall 1 versus 3 for Honor this time through. Action, hop around, good shots in to the player inside of blue. They're giving him solo chows right now. This is not what you want to do if you're the side of Marshall in a situation like this. AR swap, right side checked out. Paralysis going to be there. Shots almost rips him off. But it's Nico who once again can make it stick. 2-4.
And I think now they'll slow down. I think now they'll slow down a bit, right? One of those bang outs was successful. The second one, not so much. And I think that's going to give a little credence to the idea that they can't just completely rush at their opposition, even though they had completely destroyed them in that first round. So things are definitely going to slow down up, you feel, for the Cumberland Phoenix. They are going to go back on the defense here, so they do have to slow down kind of anyway. Curious what Martial Thundering Herd do as a roster here, because we haven't really seen any big team play, I think, from them. A lot of the rounds that they've won have either been from clutch situations or Cumberland Phoenix kind of playing in towards their hand. Curious about the team play. Looks like we're going to get our answer here. It is going to be an A hit. The early trophy down is going to stop some of that utility that has been an issue for them, but they have isolated 1. Sayaro, a lot to deal with here on the cross.
Oh, Honor thought he might get the cook on the frag. Instead, Quan will be able to survive himself on the stone. Draken backs out of P2, looking for that first challenge. Orbitals wants to throw a shoulder out. Semtex might cook that perfectly. Forces 1 to challenge over to the right-hand side. Ready for the gunfight? You betcha. 53 HP will survive. 3 versus 3. Paralysis forced to lay down, and now Orbitals has the opportunity for a bait and switch, but the same can be said for Cumberland. Instead, it'll be Orbitals for his second kill of the round, and now Action's able to come over the top. 1 versus 3. Cal's able to find the first, but it's the pistol challenge and a 2v1 up top P1 that allows Marshall to take their second round. So slowly but surely starting to find themselves a rhythm.
Hello, we're starting to get a game on our hands here, folks. Orbitals especially, we've got to give a lot of love to that guy, because him pushing out as far as he did completely broke the setup of Cumberland there in that situation. He gets forward towards the hot dog stand, or whatever you want to call it. I don't know what that is. He gets forward towards the stand, gets a couple of kills, and I think Cumberland Phoenix just panic in that situation. They move back to try and deal with him. Martial Thundering Herd able to deal with those players scarpering away. And now, Martial Thundering Herd able to put a couple of rounds back-to-back here. And I do wonder, I mean, Cumberland Phoenix, how deep is their strategy book here? Just banging things out. Hasn't really worked. There's that early util. That's going to make Action extremely weak here. And it's all about creating space here for the bomb plant.
Yeah, I think it's kind of just the traditional system for Cumberland, where it's just, let's run it down city. We'll get our trades. We'll get our bloods. They don't come every single round, but we're going to do it enough times to be able to win the S&D. Honor will just get all the way across the bomb site. Action will spot him out. Does anybody try to chow this out directly? Cal's forced to back off, though. This is going to force one to take the gunfight directly. Sorrow, under paralysis, gets the trade. Orbitals there will hop up top stone. This is great pressure from Marshall now in a 1 versus 3. Drake once again. Can he do anything from the top? Able to find the first one. He jumps up on P1. Second one's on the bomb. Action. If you don't get that gunfight, that round's lost. That could have been catastrophic.
I think you watched the Eric Boom 1 versus 3 from the Challengers Grand Final so that we can thought, yeah, let's do that again. No, not able to do so. Just didn't get the cleanest shots on towards the second player. If he had, mind you, that probably would have been the round, right? Because that last remaining player doesn't really have anything to do apart from the guy to get on the bomb or chase for the kill. And I can't imagine that Draken would have stayed there for long. I will say, though, huge shout out to Orbals. Orbals is doing a great job right now at creating space for his team that maybe the rest of the team aren't really doing. And it doesn't really matter too much. You only really need one player to do it on the squad. But they're towards that fight, right? Bomb goes down. He immediately tries to take the space in an area that Cumberland Phoenix aren't necessarily watching. And it works out to perfection. So shout out to Orbals. He might not be having the greatest stat line at 6'7". Nobody laugh. You're all childish. But he is doing a lot for the roster at the moment.
You would point to it. Regardless, Sarah up top. You guys can't hear John, but he just did it in my ear, and that just checked the hell out of me. Regardless, paralysis will get the nade. Orbitals will go around to the right. He wants to lay this bomb down, something that Cumberland did the last time, but it was a full flood that they were able to do it. Credit where credit is due. Marshall have been doing a great job of playing together here, something they did not do well inside the hardpoint in map 1. Sorrow on the laydown. Looking for action on the heady. 35 seconds left on a retake here for Cumberland. Calamity looking inside a blue. Pistol shots out onto Orbitals. Really awkward gunfight here, trying to take it back for him. But now it's a 1 versus 3, and Orbitals has to win the first. It's Honor who was given enough time from Calamity, just playing a little bit of dancey-do-si-do around him.
W read is all I can say from Cal there. Not a W fight. I'll say that's definitely an L fight from Cal to shoot with the pistol and then reload in the middle of the fight. Either way, though, I think it's a good read to recognize that someone's probably going to come on the flank, especially with how proactive I think Marshall have been through this search and destroy so far to be like, look, they've got a 3 vs 4 right now. They're definitely going to send one of those players on a potential flank, and, well, it works out perfectly for Cumberland Phoenix. Doesn't matter that Cal doesn't get that fight because somebody is there for the follow-up. So Cumberland Phoenix now 1 round away from closing out the search and destroy in the exact same fashion they did previously in the last time these two teams faced off during the regular season. And that is a pitch-perfect nade off the start. I talked about it being an issue for the Marshall Thundering Herd. Guys, why have we not learned?
You get too aggressive. One of these rounds is going to come back to bite you. And what do we say about Cumberland? They're just going to keep banging it down your throat every single time that they can. One of the times is going to work out, and this time might just be the one. 6 and 6 from action will fall to the hands of Sorrow. Nico Paralysis, a proud father in a 1 versus 4, unfortunately, won't be able to win the gunfight there. Stinger music in transition. 6-4, 2-0 lead inside of the best of 7 series. Cumberland Phoenix, they are going to continue to fly.
I have so much to talk about with that S&D. I am what I would describe as a bit of a negative Nancy is what I've been described as. In the past, right? The Simon Cowell of Call of Duty esports, except for I can clap properly. And Cumberland Phoenix, they did not play that S&D well at all. Like straight up, their S&D, I think, just watching it really for the first time here, it feels like their S&D is very one-note, like a super one-dimensional search and destroy. Like a lot of what they do is that they kind of bang things out, or they're unable to read their opposition very well and don't really react that well to it. And that led to a lot of situations where Marshall Thunder and Herd were effectively taking rounds by just doing the tiniest, the easiest of adjustments. A huge shout out to Orbitals as well, because I think so many of those rounds where he was creating space for the roster, that's just very simple space taking against Cumberland Phoenix. They shouldn't really let that happen, to be frank. And I think, again, if we're asking the question of like, why is Cumberland Phoenix able to decimate their opposition in search and destroy, or in their respawns, but when it comes to the search and destroy, things are significantly closer? That is the answer right there. Cumberland Phoenix search and destroy, that needs work when we get in a regional playoffs. Obviously, that's a conversation we'll have if they win this series 4-0 now, because they're looking pretty good, but still, that search and destroy, it's definitely the thing they need to be focusing on most.
Yeah, absolutely. And maybe Colossus just isn't the map that we're able to kind of see the best out of them. Maybe it's kind of best available for them, or maybe Marshall was the one who was able to pick the second map here within the search and destroy to give themselves their best chance at it. But I don't disagree with you one bit. I think that's something that has kind of always been almost like a cornerstone negative piece for Cumberland has been their search and destroy. So I don't think you're wrong to call that out or draw any sort of criticism to it. It's been a blur for really every season that they played. Their hard point is fantastic. Like their respawn, they have it in the bag. That is their bread and butter. But their search and destroy has been a struggle. So you're absolutely correct, and it's been a reason that they haven't been able to make very deep pushes into the playoffs before, at least where it's concerned for like top 3, top 4. So I'd like to see that cleaned up. It's going to be something that potentially could come back to bite them even in the playoffs before LAN. With a team that is aspiring to really have a standout season, you can't afford to have that second game mode and fifth game mode go to waste.
Yeah, we need to see something better. There are a couple of things, but they are going to win the series. Taking a look at the post-game stats here, we can see who are the big players for the roster. Of course, Drake can finish things off there 10-5 with that double nade to close things out, and it was those set nades. I'd be curious to see how many kills he got off the back of nades there. I think it was like 3 or 4 in that game. Yep. It was those nades again. The Martial Thundering Herd was really struggling to read. On the other side, everybody goes negative for Martial Thundering Herd, but I do want to give some love to Orbitals because even though the stats don't explicitly show it again, he was the root man for that roster. No, I'm not saying route man because I'm not American. He was the root man for that roster, and he really created a lot of space and won a lot of rounds for Martial Thundering Herd. So it doesn't show out on the stats, but sometimes doesn't always do. Doesn't always do. Yeah, whatever. You know what I mean? It doesn't always show on the stats.
Yeah, that's that British speak for you.
What am I? What's going on?
All right. Well, 2 maps down. The Cumberland Phoenix, a 2-0 lead across the board. Marshall on the opposite and receiving end of a lot of this beating that they have been able to bring to the table thus far within our conference championships. If you're just joining us, of course, best of 7s for all the conference championships. All these teams are playing for the #1 seed going into regional playoffs within the conference championships. They are trying to be at the top of their game and playing the statistically worst teams, or what should be the worst teams on the other side of the bracket in that first round, to give them the easiest road to getting to the CCL playoffs throughout their respective playoff stunts. Now, we go to an overload on Den, where again, Cumberland has started off the season with a comfortable 9-0 record on all the maps and modes together. They continue that throughout the series so far. They've improved to 10-0 in the hard points, 10-0 in the S&D. Can they do it once more here in Overload? At least so far, everything's pointing to yes, but Marshall, I would like to say they have something to come back and fight for here, but we never know what we're going to get out of this Marshall roster now, do we?
Yeah, I think it's quite concerning. We go back towards the last time these two teams faced off, and yeah, it wasn't good, should we say. It was a 6-1 Den overload in favor of Cumberland Phoenix Varsity. Of course, it was also worth saying that we had a repeat map at the beginning of the series as well with that Den hardpoint. Albeit, it was a little kinder this time around. It was a 30-point difference from that last game because that was a 2v72 the first time around. It is an indicator that we don't really expect things to change here. So maybe they've put a lot of effort into their overload. That's the only positive angle I can think of here for the Martial Thundering Herd. Who knows? But we're about to find out here as we jump in towards this one. Cumberland Phoenix already starting things pretty strong.
Yep. How about a 3 down and a 4th? Good God, that's just a rip on the staircase from Sharo. Orbitals will finally find the kill there, but the south side of the map is in full control right now by Cumberland. One player has been able to sneak through, and that's Orbitals. Honor will read him out. That's the cross through from the player with the pistol and the device. It is going to be a quick, swift, and easy 1-0 lead here for Cumberland. They've won the gunfights, and Honor will continue on 4 in a row.
Oh, going to go down there, so pretty big to at least take him out of the play. That's going to alleviate a lot of the pressure. The big issue is, of course, you've got Draken pushed all the way through as that front blocker. Even if he does eventually go down, he's done enough. Oh, Cal, unfortunately, hits the mantle. It takes him out of position for a potential kill with a pistol, and, well, that's going to be the stop here that Martial Thundering Herd wanted. So now they're going to be able to drag this all the way through towards that roof side, and there's literally only one player that could stop this for the sale.
I mean, just with how slow they're pushing this up the map, though, waiting for reinforcements, it's like they're just kind of apprehensive for a flank, or maybe they thought the spawns were going to be a bit closer. You feel like that could have easily been a cap if they try to push the pace a little bit further. Now this gives the opportunity to Cumberland to turn the course around, push an offensive out on their own. And they've already got 2 kills for it. They've got mid-map fully cleared out. They got the south side taken over. And Marshall have just all kind of funneled in and just kind of coasted up inside, not only the couches, but in top broken. And this is just allowing the device to reset and bring this back over to B.
Cumberland Phoenix are just continuing to push players forward as well. The good news is that Martial Thundering Herd, for the most part, are dealing with those players before it becomes a big issue here. They only went 1 overload through here for the moment. Martial Thundering Herd absolutely pinned back in towards their spawn. They're losing the gunfights as well. That TK is most certainly not going to help. Quan now needs to go huge. We'll get these Draken down, but not going to deal with Cyaro. And now it's another problem because you've got Cyaro forward once again. I will say, there's a lot of tracing kills right now and not playing for the objective going on for Cumberland Phoenix. That is something that sometimes happens with a team that's so far ahead.
Double kill on the trade back, though. You got one remaining player here in Calamity. They're going to sniff him out. Second one over by 10. Action loses a tough gunfight. Now you have a 1v1 versus the tree. That one's the hardest gunfight to win in the game, and I'm going to be completely candid about it. Paralysis up through middle map. Going to fall into the hands of Mr. Draken once again, and now you have Sarl trying to lead block here. He's got two bodies in front of him. First one's going to weaken up. It's going to be Quan. Calamity tries to challenge on the next one. Orange is going to be forced to basically play his life with a pistol here around the corner. If he can even get one kill out of it, it's going to be progress. Unfortunately, though, will fall. Weakened up. 3 players inside the dojo. Cumberland trying to hold on the defensive line here.
Again, it is worth saying how much Cumberland Phoenix have attacked and attacked and attacked, and Martial Thundering Herd are desperate to try and hold on to it, and it is just going to be one player that gets it through. That is really unfortunate. Cyro now has to be dealt with before things can go right, and that's exactly what happened. So again, it's not the end of the world for Martial Thundering Herd. They're doing a pretty good job at kind of dealing with the pressure from Cumberland Phoenix. It's just always 1 or 2 players that manage to filter through.
Pushing through garage. Draken will wait. See if anybody's going to be able to take these gunfights in through it. Quan down low. Paralysis will be able to tag on for a second. Now it's just all about waiting for the reinforcements here. Into the back spawn, though. One's going to be deep ammo. Orbitals will be able to push up over by tower side because they can see the objective starting to rotate its way here. Paralysis doesn't want to directly challenge this gunfight through the front. Play tucked in the corner and has to take a gunfight here against Calamity. Now it's going to be a double challenge across. Pistol, good. Inside of the back. The gunfight won't be there for action on the staircase, as it was the man himself, Draken, who was able to fly his way into the point. 3-0 lead here in the first half.
Oh, Cal. Just even getting that second gunfight right. And again, same thing as always. Honor able to wrap him from behind. It's a constant cycle of violence and aggression and depression for Martial Thundering Herd. Honor finally goes down, but just look at them. Literally look at exactly what Cumberland Phoenix do off the back of that. Draken almost immediately puts himself in a position where he can plug the hole that Honor was literally just in and try and make the flank. And at least Martial Thundering Herd are reading it, but again, you're kind of wasting resources to try and deal with those players. At the very least now, pressure through the front, action's ready for it, and that's actually a really good set of events from Martial Thundering Herd. They deal with those attempting flanker players, they deal with the pressure around the front, and now they themselves can put a push together.
Oh, this is the first good time that they've had a look inside of the defensive spawn. Trophy System's going to take out Norbicals there as he was trying to throw a Semtex forward. Yeah, the last player now rotating out to middle map, and unfortunately he doesn't read that Saura is going to be there. So you look to Cal now. 17 seconds left. Does it go to time here in round 1, or do they get to 4 first? It's a double kill that comes through. Now it's Paralysis, the last man alive here in the corner once again. Pistol shot, challenge, good. Second one there. They're going to put 4 down. Overtime here in 5 seconds. They might be able to sneak this B.
They're just facing a lot of pressure when they do this. This is going to be incredibly difficult to sneak this past Cumberland. They take the first player out. Zara down. There goes Honor as well. Calvo towards the back. That's a big issue here. Paralysis not the best of shots, and while as soon as he goes down, the entire round is done. So they don't acquiesce on the 4th overload at least. But outside of that, that was, I don't know, it was mixed. I'd say it was mixed results off the back of that one, right? I mean, ultimately, look, 3 overloads do go through, but there were a lot of times there. I mean, a lot of efforts. Again, it's not really something I think we see. Efforts, like attempts, right, as an actual stat line. But Martial Thundering Herd, they dealt with a lot of attempts there, and for the most part, they braced pretty much all of them. The big issue was they had, like, possession for, like, 5% of the time. Like, that's a real problem.
What I was going to say about Martial, it's like, there were 2 key mistakes that I saw there from the team. One was that we pointed to immediately when they were trying to push it through the roof side on the north portion of the map, trying to get to B of Cumberland's point. And then the second one was where they took it P3 side. And then whoever had the device just decided, all right, well, my team's dead. I'm going to sprint back to my spawn and try to make the wrap without realizing that there was a player wrapping through the spawn that he probably got called out by a teammate. Then he gets cut down and it was a free capture for Cumberland. So yeah, it's just little things like that that can't happen. But I'll digress the point for now. Calamity will pick this up. Go towards the south side. It's going to be a dojo hit. 3-on-1. It's going to be Orbitals here, the only player. As everybody else is taking the gunfights through, Calamity will dip and dive his way in. Slide challenge back on it. And he's going to double dip for even more. He's going to find a kill on the back end. He's got 5 straight, and he's got a Hellstorm.
Have you ever heard of the concept of a blocker?
I have.
Well, the Cumberland Phoenix seem to have a very good grasp on that concept right now. Continue pushing players through, and now they're going to go out for the first couple, so it's going to be really awkward to try and actually get the overload through. Never mind, Draken's just going to do it without actually blocking. Paralysis goes for a flanking play. And if I'm perfectly honest, flanking plays like this are not a good idea, right? I mean, the big thing here with Overload is you kind of need to always be behind the Overload as much as humanly possible. Like, flanking plays, 9 out of 10 times, not good, regardless of the context in which they happen on Overload. So, flanking play like that, I mean, if he was on the other side of the ball, maybe they would have been able to stop that EMP, because he wasn't. His teammates were 1 man down, and they end up losing that fight. The Overload goes through. Now, though, good situation. Marshall from the herd get 3 down. They can try to brute force this towards the rooftops. Problem is, close spawns here for Cumberland Phoenix. They're just going to grab that EMP and get the hell out of Dodge.
And they're sprinting back over towards middle. They know better than to try and push this to the top side of the map. It's very difficult on the rooftop here to be able to not only score, but be able to send significant pressure behind it. They're going to get everybody wrapped back over towards A, back on the P3 side. It's such a difficult rotation when you have to try and play it out like this. It all depends on Action being able to find this, but now it's going to be a funnel in through computers. You have to be able to take this challenge. They're afforded at least a bit of time here. It's the player with the device in honor who goes around on the outside of the pillars. But now on the rooftops, it comes down to Paralysis. A 1 versus 1 against the pistol. You betcha he'll win that. It's going to be completely cleared out, and now a flip around to the offense to the white side of the marshalling herd. They're still going to need 5 to tie this game up, 6 to win it. Herculean task.
Yeah, this is so difficult. You just got to get the fundamentals down. Put up a rally together. I mean, that is literally everything you can do in this situation, isn't it? Just get a rally going. And it's just so difficult because now you're facing so much pressure from the middle of the map. Trade's not going in your favor. At least you got 1 player. Oh, never mind. You had 1 player that was in position to do something about that. But he immediately gets cut down. Sayara is just going to slide through. Nobody blocking. Quan was more focused on the other player as opposed to the actual player that is doing damage to them with the EMP. And that's now from 5-0 to 6-0. Things just go from bad to worse to whatever the hell this is right now. Marshall Thundering Herd are in the hole.
220. That is all you have to survive for here if you're Cumberland. Hellstorm's going to be delivered over the top. You'll find Quan with it. You won't find anything else for it. But this does keep the entirety of this offensive push kind of concentrated to the top side of the map and back inside of their spawn. Now it's a wrap back from Honor. First one here in the line of defense. Action looking to push behind the 2 lead blockers. Paralysis will be the first to fall in this engagement. 4 versus 3 on the point here. And you can see Action just does not want to push this out at all, and they want to wrap this back. It's just this passive play in almost just the indecisiveness from Marshall that has just kept them from being able to put any sort of like passable offensive push together.
Trades, that's not going to work out. Double coming through from Honor. And Cumberland Phoenix, another opportunity here to get a 7th overload through. Kills coming through from Marshall Thunder Herd. That's going to make things difficult here. Mid-map presence potential from Marshall to get something going, and you're just not winning the fights. Cumberland Phoenix are kind of going to dig in here. Just make sure that an overload doesn't go through. Try to keep their flawless record at the back of this game. And there's the fight for Cal in the middle of the map. He's looking for the double, trying to dip and dive around the coverage available to him. To the pistol. The kill versus Action. And now an opportunity here with the final 60 as a couple of kills come through. The kill feed lights up red for them to push through once again.
Now, can they tyrannize the defensive spawn once more? Need 2 more scores to end it with 8. Nade deep back. Doesn't find anything for it. Calamity wants to just push this one forward. Gets the slip on the inside while Honor's there to push forward. And now the spawn trap is in. They are all back over by the outside of P4. And it is just a run into the funnel. Calamity up to 6. Has another Hellstorm. Takes a teammate out in the process. Why not number 7? Hi, Quan. How you doing, buddy? He's going to hit it as he goes back to the respawn. It's Action inside computers as they'll finally clear it out, but 1 final score could put this away. 30 seconds left here inside of game 3. Once again, a game that has not been close or kind to the Marshall is leaving them with another team kill, and as Paralysis will fall and the Hellstorm comes in over the top, they're not going to be able to get back into this, or will they? It's a team kill. It's Cal who finds Sorrow, and with 13 seconds left, they might not get the score.
Team kills prevent the maximum overload. Trades, this one's done. Yeah, there's no way. Honor. There's just no way. They will hold on towards the overload to close out this game, but it is done. Cumberland Phoenix, they decimate the opposition in that game of overload. Things, again, just do not look comfortable whatsoever. The amount of overloads, by the way, they get through on this side, which they just damn well shouldn't. That one is a really good example of it. Of course, Cal then gets that overload through and starts to full sprint at the opposition, getting kill after kill after kill, including his own teammate. He's that cracked in that moment. But honestly, again, I think we can kind of recognize exactly kind of went wrong. What went wrong there? Excuse me. God, it's awful for me right now. What went wrong for Marshall Thundering Herd in that overload? I think specifically during the first half of that game, they just failed to deal with the players from Cumberland Phoenix that were in their base time and time again. Granted, they did deal with a lot of those efforts, but ultimately there was always one player, one blocker that they just couldn't deal with, and that created a lot of space for Cumberland Phoenix to get those 3 overloads through. And then in the second half, you know, it's just kind of difficult for Cumberland Phoenix to really even stress just how they got those overloads through, because a lot of the times they'd have a blocker there, that blocker would die, and that the overload would go through regardless. That is just not great overload from Marshall Thundering Herd. But ultimately, there's not much what you can do when, again, the kind of lead slayers in Cal and Drake and were going crazy like they were.
Well, I'll be honest, it looked a little bit better, at least in the second go of things in a respawn for Marshall when it came to the slaying department. The score department, though, was not able to be there. I think, again, I kind of alluded to it when we were talking about it at the start of the second half. It was just the indecisiveness with where we wanted to go when we had the payload inside of our possession. Plenty of wrap backs to the spawns, never being able to directly challenge it out. You hit on it with not being able to trust that lead blocker to find one, and then that last player, that fourth and final pesky player that you're trying to find on every push, just getting lost and always either being behind you or just putting a thorn in the side of everything. It all comes down to pace, and we talk about it so much with Overload, and it's been something that we've hinted on even since the very beginning of the year when we started watching the competitive teams and challengers teams really start to scrim the mode and start to kind of master it. It's always just talk about pace, pace, pace. You have to be out in front of everybody else. You have to be the ones aggressing the gunfights. The team that is going to be playing the fastest and being able to stay on top of things when things get mixy is the team that's going to come out on top. And Cumberland did that once again. They proved that they could do it on the Den hard point when they were just able to always flurry and kind of upset Marshall on every hit that they had tried to have. And when Marshall can't do that to the other team, it's going to be near impossible. And we saw that inside of the Den to really get anything going for them. So we find ourselves with a 3-0 lead for the Cumberland Phoenix. I think coming into this, we all kind of expected Cumberland to be the favorite team. Did we expect it to be a kind of a blowout in this fashion and a DoorDash of a conference championship? Probably not. I think Marshall fans and the players more specifically probably were hoping this was going to be a little bit closer. But Brody, we have ourselves what is looking to be a 4-0 on our hands.
Yeah, it's not great, is it? It's what we said, right? In this series, it kind of felt like Marshall Thundering Herd needed to win the Search and Destroys. If not, they would be in trouble, and that's exactly what happened. That Search and Destroy was close. The respawns, not so much.
Yeah, not at all. All right, 3-0 lead for the Cumberland Phoenix. After a break, we'll come back, and we'll see if they can close it out in a map 4 hard point. Don't go anywhere. The conference championships continue after a break. Well, let's do this thing. 3-0 lead for the Cumberland Phoenix, as you can see on the top of the screen there. We saw the maps and modes beforehand, so we're going to skip pretty much everything here. Just get ready to go to the fly-through and into game here. Myself, of course, and with me is, of course, Papa Brody, Mr. Infinity BL. We have seen, well, a series on our hands. I don't want to say it's been all that competitive, but it has been a series. The Thunder, unfortunately, on the Marshall side, have not really struck back in any capacity. The Cumberland Phoenix, as expected, are flying through this series thus far, looking to do it one more time in our map 4.
Yep, what we said about this series, I think coming into it, right, was just given the history between these two teams. Obviously, last time these guys faced off, as you already are aware, if you weren't aware, Cumberland and Phoenix are flawless in every mode, and that still remains true here, even after the 3 maps played in this series. Last time was a 3-0. The respawns were incredibly, like a massive blowout by Cumberland and Phoenix. Just blew them out of the map, and then the Search and Destroy, that was a 6-4 with Cumberland Phoenix still taking it away. Things have played out largely the same here, right? The Search and Destroy has been competitive, the other maps have not, and it did then feel like, well, Search and Destroy is the only way into the series for Marshall. For the Phoenixes, then this is kind of feels like an inevitability, doesn't it? Blackheart hardpoint, if this is anything like the map number 1 hardpoint, we are in for a trip, right? That's the opposite of a treat, because Cumberland Phoenix are probably going to do the same thing again. I would like to see something different, and it does feel like maybe the start of something special here, because 3 kills go through for Marshall, and they're in control of the hardpoint.
Well, Quan started off the first hardpoint 0-9, so anything better than that is going to feel good for Marshall. And they've already got 15 seconds accrued on the board, and they're still continuing to win gunfights here inside the middle of the map. Calamity looking for the second good drop down there. Only a 1 pump on side of the head glitch, so we're going to count that as a yellow car for now and keep going on with our business. We'll keep pushing through inside of Dubs. Looking back to middle map with the AR, they're going to try and influence these P2 spawns. Big 1v1 on the back end off screen. We got Asaro versus Quan. It'll be helped, though, from Calamity as he pushes out through middle map on 5 in a row, looking for that coveted Hellstorm missile here, which can be so devastating on Blackheart.
It's going pretty well so far. Again, fundamentally speaking, not the end of the world here for Marshall. They did a pretty good job there by trying to avoid those P2 spawns with a flank through P4. And they're going to do the same thing again via paralysis. But that's being really well read right now by Cumberland Phoenix. They're doing a good job at keeping an eye on every single point of ingress towards this P2 hard point. Everything being watched at the moment. And Draken, well, he's starting a streak out.
No challenge out right side. Throw a shoulder over to P1, gets the call out to the team, but they know the push is coming through. First one dead. Second one there. Got help in the backside of the hard point. Pistol challenge, won't be able to find it. It's another double challenge that comes through. Semtex on the back end side. Paralysis inside a middle map. Orbital's pushing on the right end. Calamity looks for the 1v1 gunfight here and will be able to do just that. Now it's a push through middle map here from Honor as he looks forward. Maybe a double dip opportunity from Calamity.
Calvert, extra bullets in the body here. Cumberland Phoenix just making sure the players are dead on Marshall. And that was a pretty perfect hold from Cumberland Phoenix. We talked about how good of a setup that was. If this is broken quickly from Marshall, this is going to spell disaster. That's not going to help. Draken takes out his own teammate once again. And now it's going to have to be an effort here for Cumberland Phoenix to fight through at the front of the hard point. One in position, trying to deal with some of those transitioning players. That's not going to happen. So look at this push for Cumberland Phoenix. They want to unearth those back spawns.
See, they did just that. It's the first gunfight there against Quan. Bit difficult to take through. Inside a square. The push now comes through as you got a double hit. First, the challenge goes to the hard point from Orbitals. Paralysis to the back spawns. Unfortunately, isn't able to find anything for it. I like the idea for Marshall. The execution, though, unfortunately, just doesn't really pan their way.
Good hold so far. Lovely position coming out from Draken there. Try and hold at 20 seconds. You really want to be rotating. It's kind of one of those things where you've already got players investing towards a hit here. You want to be careful about how far you push it towards on because these spawns can be volatile at times. You might accidentally spawn players out. That's why player number 6 is trying to repeat here. Cal comes through for the last couple of kills and you steal away about 5 to 10 seconds there if you're Marshall. Things already starting to get out of control. Cal has the Hellstorm missile in the back pocket. If this gets broken quickly, Marshall might as well call it.
No, Marshall have the backline spawns, but everybody's dead. They're going to be able to break back here. It's going to be a 4-man hit through the south side of the map. Let's see what's happening on the comms here from the Marshall Thundering Herd.
Probably gonna be out.
Could be P2.
Yeah, L weak. Yeah, and one's gonna be back.
P2 one shot. P2 one shot.
Yeah, you got me.
Nice.
Nice. L honor.
Oh, back to back. Narc. On a narc. He's like one.
Rick in front dead.
Tomorrow's weak as fucking.
Hit real quick.
Tomorrow's weak as fucking.
Kill that ring. He's close.
Yeah, he's out.
I went.
Good try.
Cal, why you shooting my body, bro?
Add it. Oh, he's pushing up. P3.
Yep. Behind me square as well.
I found out.
One to the back.
Kill out close on me.
I'm gonna hit this.
I have your help.
Square. Close P4.
Dead. Yeah.
Yeah, one more old.
P3.
Oh my god, he's
Good try.
so one, bro. Two on it.
You just gotta go now.
No, Brody, we heard a lot of great comms from the Cumberland Phoenix. There was much to be desired within that team communication.
Yeah, I think they're just done. Honestly, I think at this point it's just like, yeah, listen, you guys didn't even use butter. Like, this is crazy. Cumberland Phoenix have just run through them here. And honestly, if I was in Marshall's position, I would feel the exact same way. I think just continue to go from bad to worse again. Just the double kills like that, absolutely disgusting. And it's worth saying as well, Draken's only on 8 and 9. I don't know what Draken's been doing for this game of Hardpoint, but he's having a really slow game. It's like he's doing badly by any stretch of the imagination. He's just like, honestly, this guy's got to be super static or something throughout this Hardpoint because the rest of the team are so far ahead.
Just like no engagements. I think he's been holding spawns for the majority of time and just like hard blocking in the back while the rest of the teammates kind of just put the work in by pushing forward, which, I mean, on Blackheart is a very effective strategy. You could just sit one person all the way back and, I mean, there's really only like 4 or 5 unique spawns on this map for most of the hard points, so it's not necessarily the worst possible play to make, but he's starting to turn himself around. He's got 4 in a row. It's actually, that's almost 13, almost 14 combined kills for Cumberland now, so you look to action, you look to Marshall. And they are on the back end of what has been a 30-point club so far here. 200 points to the Phoenix, 50 away from the win.
Pretty good. Combined 11 spree. Oh, guys, we don't need to do that. They've been through enough. This is a trial by, well, burning to death at this point, isn't it? Marshall, Thunder in red. Yeah, I don't even know what this is. This is just, Jesus. Cal on a spree. He's got Swarm. Cal's literally got a Swarm. Obviously, he can't use it because then he forfeit the map. But yeah, Cal has legitimately got a Swarm and an EMP in his back pocket. Like, you put those things on to make sure you don't get a third spree. That's the reason you put those things on.
20 seconds left. Hellstorm invested. This is where Marshall made a run last time. Put at least a few more points on the board to make it look a bit prettier and more polished. All things on. Well, 15 seconds left in the rotation over to P2. This is looking like it may be the final nail in the coffin. Paralysis on the push. Finds one by Crane. Second one there. Action good. Body gonna rack it all over across. We put it in the goalpost. That's gonna be good from 3. 3 seconds left now, though, and nobody to touch it. And the Cumberland Phoenix, not only did they come into the series undefeated on the season, they go 4-0 inside of the conference championships, and they will be walking away from this series as the champions of the Southeast Appalachian Conference.
I kind of feel offended. You know, I feel like I got 230 there in that game, because that was wild. I mean, what else do we really say about this? How about this for the post-game breakdown? I mean, it feels like the part of the sea. Just looking at that right now, I mean, nothing really happening much for the white line. For the red line, that thing's shooting up all the way towards that 250-point mark. I mean, just what else do you say?
The people
Look at it, dude. It's not moving. It's not, the white line's not doing anything.
Also, real quick, for what it's worth, I just want to say, look at the graphic that John made on the right there. Great graphic, but he doesn't even get to show the beauty of it because of how unclose
the
P2
numbers
and
aren't
P4
present for P2 and P4.
Oh, shout out J Pros. Oh god.
Okay, alrighty. Well, that's why Cumberland Phoenix currently the number 5 seed overall in our rankings. They showed them exactly how to play hardpoint there in that one. That was just insane, dude. It's honestly, it's like the tiniest bit of white that you'll ever see on that bar. Just absolutely nothing. And listen, it's literally what we said, right? That the respawns for Cumberland Phoenix, they are way too strong of a roster in respawns for a team like Marshall to beat them. It's that search and destroy. That's what they need to clear up, I think, moving forward. Because if Cumberland Phoenix want to challenge for the CCL 2026 championships, the only way they're going to be able to do that is by clearing up that search and destroy. Yep. If they do that, obviously, you know, there are some much better rosters on the way. Obviously, it's nowhere near a guarantee, but they will be one of the strongest teams we have here in CCL this season.
Yeah, I mean, for anybody that's watching this, and maybe this is your first time watching the CCL, or you're coming back after a while, this is kind of the difference between what has been the pedigree of the top 5-6 teams to some of the latter half teams within the top 25. It's not to say that any of the top 25 teams are bad by any stretch of the imagination. Usually on any given day, they can take a good series against almost any team within the CCL. It's just there's a different pedigree when you get to the top 5 teams. Even teams 1 through 3 are going to be different than kind of teams 4 through 8 after you kind of get down the list. It's just, there are so many great players that have joined within the Collegiate Call of Duty League over the last 4 or 5 years that realistically being able to take some of these maps off, even with a relatively strong team like Marshall, just becomes very, very difficult, especially when it's a conference championship and there's a lot on the line, including the number 1 seed going into regional playoffs. Regardless of if a team's undefeated throughout the entire year and how quote-unquote easy their schedule may be throughout everything going forward, it's still, of course, a tough road to not only play through the entire tournament bracket, but to consistently win against teams that you haven't played from necessarily your own region. Of course, there's the Appalachian region, there's the Deep South region within the Southeast. So it really does come down to a lot of different things and a lot of different situations that you're going to put yourself in. Just because you win a series and you win your conference championship doesn't mean you're guaranteed a spot within the CCL playoffs. You still have to go through the bracket, and no win is going to be easy, especially when there's teams with nothing to lose.
Yeah, I just don't know what else there is to say about that, to be honest, mate. I mean, that was a series of Call of Duty sports in which 2 teams were playing against one another. They were playing modes such as Hardpoint, Search and Destroy, and Overload. They were played, they happened, and we can move on.
Yes, we can. Well, congratulations to the Cumberland Phoenix for going not only undefeated on the entire season, but taking the conference championship, going up 4-0, and again will improve to 12-0 technically on their record, and improve, of course, undefeated in all the rest of the maps and modes respectively. That being said, that is going to do it for our first best of 7 series and our first conference championship match of the day. We still got one more on the docket. Of course, that'll be Newberry and Mars Hill, a conference I know oh too well, as these teams have, well, they have beat the living snot out of me, to put it lightly, in the PG way that we like to have it on stream. So that being said, the Deep South Southeast competition for the conference championship on the way in just a moment. We'll be back after, well, we'll say it's going to be probably a little bit of a break here between that next match.